Good morning, and welcome to the Tech Lab Brief, your daily heartbeat of technology. And a reminder that reports of the AI apocalypse have been greatly exaggerated. Today is July 28th, 2026, and this is your AM Brief. Today's brief is titled The AI Jailbreak. We'll be revisiting a story that we covered earlier in the week, or rather last week, about a security topic in the AI world. And we're revisiting it because when the news first came out, the details were still under development, and more details have come out that make a lot of implications for the development of everything going on in tech and AI. So we'll jump on that note. We will jump right into it. The agent that got out. An autonomous AI agent broke out of its test environment and spent 3 days inside Hugging Face's production systems. OpenAI acknowledged on July 21st that the agent was running its own models. In a cyber capacity evaluation, with the safety refusals deliberately turned down, Hugging Face says it reached internal datasets and service credentials and found no evidence of tampering with public models. So, back to this OpenAI Hugging Face situation. This is actually the third time we're covering the story because somewhere between when it happened, when it got reported, and I guess as we've been doing our research and more details have been coming out, I personally came to the realization that the adversary that broke into Hugging Face's systems was OpenAI. So there's that. If we're going to break into some of the facts here, there's, I guess, a little bit of technicals of how understanding how OpenAI actually got in. It has to do with, as the headline was saying, right? The safety refusals were deliberately turned down. So OpenAI was conducting a bit of a cybersecurity evaluation on their models, notably 5.6 Sol, and we don't have it here. But there was a cyber evaluation benchmark that OpenAI was reportedly having their GPT model test against, and through that, so they lowered the cyber capability guardrails on the model, and it just went off. And the key point here is that OpenAI did not target Hugging Face, right? They gave it a general challenge, for a cyber challenge for the model to solve, and it just kind of on its own said, you know what, I think that hacking Hugging Face here is going to get me to the desired results. And there's just so much that's going on here right now that has implications about the future of cybersecurity, both on the offensive and defensive side. But I really want to step away from any sort of doom and gloom narrative that this is like the end of the world coming, right? The AI apocalypse is here. No, this is just the evolution in technology, that these are both benevolent parties, right? OpenAI, Hugging Face, they've both made massive contributions to the world of AI technology, and they are doing their security research. They are hardening, it's called hardening their defenses by attacking themselves, right? They're openly reporting to each other what's going on. And this is what it takes to build a better, more secure world. And there's obviously a question of transparency that we're going to cover in just a little bit. That there's two things here that that I want to highlight here, which is that we have a responsibility to get better with the technicals, understand the technicals of everything going on, understand to ask the right questions to the right people. And yeah, policy is a big thing. But before I get into policies, I'm going to talk about jobs, right? Because that's a big concern with this whole AI situation. And you have to imagine that just in this one incident that happened between OpenAI and Hugging Face, there was so much going on. And do you think that on both sides, they had the resources sufficient to address these concerns? And the answer is rhetorically no. There's still so much opportunity to fill these gaps and play a role in being a part of the development of technology. And on that note, we'll go into our next segment that covers the policy side, because as this hack happened, as this hack happened and it was disclosed and the public is in a whole reel about it, it comes at perfect timing just on the heels of something that we will, on what we'll cover in our next segment, entitled The Sunday Deadline. This Sunday on October 2nd, California's AI Transparency Act becomes operative, and the European Union's Digital AI Omnibus faces the same date. Not one word of either was written with this month in mind. And a bipartisan draft now in the House would preempt state law for 3 years, which means that rules that bind companies on Sunday could be suspended by the rules that come next. So there's all this legislation coming out, which again is a good thing, right? There's so many calls to regulate AI. In fact, the AI companies themselves are like, please help us regulate this whole thing because it's a lot. We need guardrails. We need policy guardrails. We need the government to step in and make a call about how things should go down because it is very Wild West right now. There's a little bit of clash going on right now between the federal and the state level, where the states are stepping in to pass rules and to make regulations about transparency, about restrictions on going too far and when building data centers and stuff like that. But the United States, the federal government is also in progress to push out their own legislation. So this is really complicating the whole situation. And there's stipulations in the federal bill. This is just a bill. At the federal level, it's just a bill that's in the House. So still very early stage. But it would kind of override everything the states are trying to do. So there's that on the United States front. And then EU is also doing the same thing. And again, this is all steps in the right direction, right? More regulation, more kind of making sure that AI doesn't go completely out of control, as we've kind of just seen in this whole Hugging Face situation. And this is policy, developing policy is good, very good, but it's still just one step, one piece of the puzzle. It's like the corner piece in the puzzle when you start to try to fill out the frame. Because Congress can go, or the legislation of any nation really, can go out and pass these laws, but who's going to enforce them? Who's going to make sure that people are following them? Who's going to take all the little steps in between to make sure that these rules are being followed? Who's going to do the work? And that's why I want you to get out and do the research, as one of our interns once said, right? Level up. There is a lot of opportunity on that note. Keep tuning in to the Tech Lab Brief. Is there enough compute to go around to do all the AI things? Well, that brings us to our next story. Microsoft rations its own cloud. Microsoft is spending close to $190 billion in capital expenditure this calendar year, and its own chief financial officer says Azure stays capacity constrained at least through 2026. Customers are signing multi-year agreements just to reserve compute they cannot get today. And Microsoft has been reported to put its own Copilot products ahead of paying customers when capacity runs short. So we circle back to this $3 trillion company, and they don't have enough compute. They have to reportedly turn away their own customers on the cloud because they need to run the computers for their own services. And what does this mean, right? I mean, imagine you have this company that makes pizzas and has great access to tomatoes. And they have so many tomatoes that they can give away, they can not give away, they can sell the extra tomatoes to other, not just pizza makers, but any other business that might be involved in making pizza. Although Microsoft is more of the tomato sauce guys. They're the guys that put the sauce in the jars and then give them out. But I guess they hold their own pizza manufacturing arm, right? And right now they're saying that the demand for pizza is so high that they just can't give up. They can't sell their own tomatoes anymore. So the tomato selling side is gone, and now they can only make pizzas. And well, tomato sauce, this analogy doesn't, I guess this whole metaphor could have used a little bit more massaging before just throwing it out there. But I think you get the general idea. I mean, this is a very odd situation where we are so deep into this, evolution of technology. And now we're just at this point where the wealthiest technology company in the world has also run into certain supply chain issues. It really goes to show that money doesn't solve all the problems. They have tremendous budgets, but have they utilized it correctly to account for whatever demand situation they're facing right now? And clearly the answer is no. And admittedly, Microsoft wasn't always a hardware company. In fact, the other way to say it, they're a historical software company, and then moved to data center build-outs, cloud. They were one of the last players, right? It was Amazon AWS, Google Cloud, and then Microsoft. There's clearly some competing. There's a factor of competing demands, and we are in this very interesting situation. And I guess the final point I want to raise here is how real is the demand? How real is all this demand? They're saying that Copilot, Copilot's doing all these things. We have to reserve all this compute for Copilot. Actually, it's more like pizza ovens. So Copilot is the AI software, the AI offering that Microsoft has put out since almost the beginning of this whole this AI boom. We're running out of the compute required to run our own Copilot for our own customers because Microsoft doesn't actually, well, they're always the platform guys, right? They provide the base for other companies to use their products and go about their productivity. So how much of this Copilot usage actually contributes to the value creation and at what level, but also how accurately is it operating? And that really goes into, we'll kind of talk more about that during today's knowledge segment. But for now, I will circle us back to the topic of the day, which is the AI jailbreak. And what we've done today is kind of grab these seemingly random stories, and somehow they all relate, right? Because this whole AI situation, it's wild, right? Everything's moving so fast. There's so much news. And I just want to go back to that point about opportunity, right? Whenever there's a problem, there's an opportunity to solve that problem and build a product that can tackle the problem, that can provide a way to reliably address the issue and add and create value in that way. So on that note, we'll transition to today's knowledge segment. Today's knowledge segment, we'll cover the topic of what a free model actually costs. And if we go to our rechat, well, the topic is open weight AI, good versus harm. Make the strongest case that open weight model releases have been good for the public than for the harmful. Label every assumption. Mark clearly which claims are contested, then settled. Do not assert prices, benchmark scores, or product specifications, and by naming the single piece of evidence that would most change your mind in each direction. Just to recap there, we're going to explore why open weights are good and why they're harmful. Open weights. Remember, open weights are the idea of these models being able to be run on our own machines, right? I can run my own AI. I don't need to pay the providers, the frontier companies for the AI things. Open weight models have been a net, this is case one. We're looking at the pros and cons. So open weight models have been a net positive. Core argument here is that it democratizes artificial intelligence, removing gatekeepers, enabling privacy, preserving local deployment, enabling privacy, preserving local deployment, oligopolistic corporate control, and accelerating scientific research through open auditability. So, local sovereignty and data privacy, research auditability and interpretability, mitigation of market oligopoly, defensive acceleration via Linus's law, with this following underlying assumptions of diffusion advantage, symmetric capabilities, and irrelevancy of monopoly nuance. So that's a lot. That's a lot to just dig in there in one chunk. So I'm going to take this point by point here. Local sovereignty and data privacy. Local sovereignty and data privacy. So that means I can run the AI in my own infrastructure, right? I can have the AI run on data that I own. It's on my machines. It's on my hard drives. I'm not uploading it to some cloud. So local sovereignty and data privacy. Sovereign. I have sovereignty over my own data. I have more control over the privacy of the data because it's on my hardware. So if the weights are open, then I can download them for myself, right? I can download them. I can run them on my own hardware, and I can look inside of it, right? I can research it. I can audit it. I can understand. I have a better chance of understanding what on earth is going on inside these models than if this was, a frontier, like a closed weight company. And all I can do is just pass in inputs and get back an output, right? This is like we're really reaching those fundamental layers of how systems work. Input, output. Again, yes, big companies control the industry. That shouldn't be a surprise. What can we do about it? let's get to work, right? And yes, these open weight models are these. An advantage of the open weight models is that it helps mitigate market oligopoly. Yeah, we've seen prices jump, we've seen policies change within companies, right? And for better or worse. And our criticism at this point, our criticisms of these large corporations are just words. And in fact, and it's never changed that they're just words, right? We got to do something about this. And the open weight model is something that can help us better understand everything going on, that can give us a lot of these benefits. But it's not all butterflies and rainbows and butterflies and sunshine, right? So we got to get to the pros and the cons. And I will kind of, I'll quickly skim over the defensive acceleration via Linus's law. Basically, that open source development, like putting everything together, all the research, everything that's done, it helps develop the defensive capabilities better. Linus's law refers to Linus Torvald, the founder of Linux operating system, which has pushed operating system development like crazy. Even Microsoft at a certain point said, hey, we can't deny the fact that Linux is just way ahead of us, so we'll just reprogram our entire operating system to use Linux at the core, well, to support Linux. We'll skip these assumptions for now because I want to get into the to the net harm case. So, irrevocably distribute dual-use software capabilities that restrict those safety guardrails, enabling non-state actors and malicious builders to execute high-consequence attacks. We'll do this one, okay? Just this one. Irreversible proliferation and guardrail stripping, lowering the barrier to critical threats. You know what? Let's just compile this one in there too. Scalable misinformation and fraud. Erosion of safety governance. So I'm just going to tie it up in a bow because we're running out of time. The dangers of open weight model is a security thing, right? That's really a tale as old as time. You leave your door open, you let everyone see inside, and you're going to put yourself at risk to, be taken advantage of. And that's no different with these open weight models. You can, it's easy to find the guardrails. It's easy to take them down. This is the point we're at. It's either we close all our doors and, we gatekeep everything and like we move at the pace determined by whoever holds the key to those gates, or we have to open up, or we open up our doors and we trust each other and we put the right, we respect the right boundaries of people who give us their trust. And we all level up together, right? There's a narrative here at BK Tech Labs that it's all about open intelligence, collective intelligence, learning and growing together, leveling up together. So on that note, we'll bring an end to today's knowledge segment, which brings us to today's Barcade segment. And this is a chess game that should be over soon, but it should have been over before, but a bit of a streak. We can have more of a say. Yep, we can determine the next move with the streak. If showing up all the time, we can have more voting power. Chess, tic-tac-toe, always take the corner. Connect 4. Yeah. Why take that last row on the column? It's not even close to being utilized. Okay, and then checkers is busted right now, so we'll pass on that. And that brings an end to today's Barcade segment. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to end it right there. I'm going to play a game of tic-tac-toe. I'm going to let the AI go first. And we're going to use Luna. I want to see if Luna knows the perfect game of tic-tac-toe at low reasoning. So we'll start the match. We're just going to wait for AI to make a move. Center is the strongest opening and is legal. All right, so if I take... I'll take a side here because the side is like the most losing possible move for player 2. Okay, they're going to do that. Taking corner loans. Okay. And is it going to do 6? It's going to do 6. Okay. It created the fork. Block and move. Okay. Does it see the winning move? It does. All right. Congratulations. 5.6 GPT 5.6 Luna. You've passed the tic-tac-toe reasoning evaluation. Now, can we turn that into a number and everything? Stay tuned. On that note, brings an end to our Barcade segment, which also brings an end to our brief. We hope you enjoyed watching today's brief as much as we did preparing for it. Catch us later today at 5 p.m. As always, we would like to know what you think about our program. Please leave your comments. Let us know. Please consider membership. We're doing good things here. And now, minutes of Zen. Have a great day. Let's lock in. See you at 5. Bye now.